And we are going to stay in the food sector and zoom in on the food chain transition and how alternative proteins are the most promising solutions for the future. We are lucky to have with us the Executive Director of Research and Application from Bell Group to share her insights derived from driving research on micro and macro structure on food polymers in dairy applications. Her work on caseins and thermodynamic blends were acknowledged by multiple publications and several theses referees. And it's Bell Group's protection of innovation and open innovation. She believes that science is a true catalyst for innovation in brand new fields of activity. And she's known for a collaborative approach with food tech startups in the field of alternative proteins. Please welcome Dr. Anne Pitkowski.
Thank you. I will not directly start by precision fermentation. I will first bet that many of you have had milk this morning with your breakfast or with a coffee. And I want you to know that your consumptions per year is about 100 liters per year. 100 liters of milk per year. That consumption leads to a production of 900 billion liters of milk. And that contributes to 3 to 4% of the gas emission. 3 to 4%. It's not neglected. And if we look to the trends, we know that with the population growth and the change of habit, people are looking for more and more dairy products. Then we expect that the demands will explode. To answer that, we would need to produce twice as much milk, twice as much as we are producing today. That's not sustainable. We cannot afford it. So what could be the solution? You can stop having milk on your breakfast. At Bell, we have another option. And we think that there is alternatives. Bell is a family-owned group with some iconic brands like the Laughing Co, Kiri, Mini Baby Bell. And we are experts in cheese. We are selling cheese all over the world, and we are producing dairy cheese for 150 years. So we are aware. We are aware of the challenge we face. We are aware of the necessity to work on a positive food transition. We are aware of the fact that we need to change. We want to be a part of the solution. We want to fight against the climate change. We trust that the growth of the company can be profitable and sustainable. So we set up an ambition to be carbon neutral at the horizon of 2030. And we have a clear plan for that, a clear and focused plan. 3 points. The first, we have decided to balance our portfolio between dairy and non-dairy offer. A dairy expert cheese, birthed in France, has decided to produce plant-based cheese. Measure how much it's a huge and bold move. Plant-based cheese. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is we are working on the regenerative agriculture, on the upstream of milk, to reduce the carbon footprint of the milk production. And third, we invest in science. We invest in science to produce alternative ingredients to feed the world. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here today to show you how science is relevant and positive for the future of science, for the future of food. I'm a food scientist. I'm expert in edibles of matter and biopolymers, in other words, protein. And even with my 20 years of experiences, I would have never thought to leave such a revolution in food. And that's true. Huh? All the cutting-edge science are turning to food. Microfluidic, genomic, artificial intelligence, robotic, they are all supporting the food transition. And on purpose, food is really a challenge for the humanity. It's important for the health, it's important for the planet, and today we measure how much science could help to tackle that challenge. I will drive you for the rest of my presentation through an example how science is helping us to find solutions for alternative protein. So, sorry. Before going to the alternative protein, I want to go back on the protein. So, I guess you know a lot about protein. You know how much it's important for our nutrition, for our metabolism. But do you know why it is so important in cheese? In cheese, there are three main roles. The first is the nutrition. Protein, dairy protein are rich in the essential amino acids. And there are also the ability, the casein, that is the majority of the dairy protein. This protein, the caseins, are able to chelate a huge amount of calcium. That is also essential for the nutrition. The second role, the taste. The protein, the dairy protein, are hydrolyzed during the process of cheese making into peptides, and that brings the specific taste of cheese. And for those who have already tasted plant-based cheese, you know what I mean. Last and not the least, the texture. The protein, the dairy protein, are responsible for the texture of the cheese. The caseins have the ability to connect together with low energy bonds. And that specific network contributes and is directly responsible for the texture, for the firmness, for the hardness, for the meltability, the mouthfeel, the spreadability, the stretchability. That is a characteristic of a cheese. That is how we will describe a good cheese. And that is a French woman who taught you what is a good cheese. So, just to summarize, we need to enlarge, we need to find alternative source of protein. We need to enlarge the quantity of good protein. And when we talk to cheese about cheese, there is technical challenge to tackle, to reformulate cheese without dairy protein. And that is where alternative technologies that are under development could offer the possibility to develop new cheese. So there is two main categories of technology. The first one is the dairy non-cow protein. So those technology leads to produce exactly the same protein as the one that is produced by the cow, but without a cow. Same sequence of amino acids, same primary structure, same secondary structure. It's really to mimic the dairy. Yes, the second one. The microbial proteins. So microbial proteins that are nothing to relate to the dairy protein. It's another family of protein. They are good and sustainable, but with other structure than the dairy protein. So, going through the first family. If I manage to go. Yes. The precision fermentation. We are there. So precision fermentation is the first family. Here, the technology is very simple. The idea is to take microbes to give it the ability to produce dairy protein. You can produce any molecules you want as soon as you give it the ability to produce specifically by the microbes. So you modify the microbes, you make it grow, then you just have to get the protein from the fermentation. It's not a new technology. Huh? We are already using that very often. It's the way to produce insulin, for example. It's using for years in food also. It's the way to produce the chymosin. In French, the rennet. That is the enzyme that is transforming the milk into hard cheese. And it's used in 99% of hard cheese. The second technology, molecular farming. It's very close. There, you are not selecting the microbes, but the seeds, soy, tobacco, for example. You modified it. You give it the ability to produce milk protein. Then you make the plant grow. You harvest your field, and you get your protein. Of course, you have to split the dairy protein with the plant protein, but it's directly accessible. Third technology, cellular agriculture. Then it's a bit different. We are starting by the cow. We are taking cells, bovine mammalian cells, from the glands of the cow, and then we make the replication of the cells. By direct stimulation, we get the milk protein. Microbial proteins. That is what we call the biomass fermentation. Here it's super easy to understand. It's like brewery, instead that at the end you have milk and no beer. You select microbes for its own ability to produce a huge amount of the specific molecules you are looking for. You can select microbes that have the ability to produce fat, to produce plastic. In our case, we selected bacteria for their ability to produce protein. You make it grow, and then at the end, you have your protein. You can split or separate the protein from the biomass, or you can use the whole biomass as the raw ingredient. The second technology of this family is really the same. The only difference is the substrate of growth. Instead of plant-based derived sugar, the microbes have the ability to capture carbon from the atmosphere to transform it into protein. Really amazing. So, what are we doing with this type of protein? We are doing cheese. With the dairy non-cow protein, we have the ability, we have the possibility to reproduce a cheese in country where there is no milk. We can also use this protein to add in our plant-based formula to increase the taste, the functionality, and the nutrition. We can also blend the milk, the bovine milk, with this non-cow milk to reduce the carbon footprint of our own cheese. Talking about the microbial proteins, of course, it's different than milk. So we can imagine to use them to add it in dairy cheese to decrease the carbon footprint, to improve, to change a bit the texture, but we have to find the right balance to keep the taste of our dairy cheese. We can also add this type of ingredient to improve our plant-based cheese for nutrition, texture, functionality. And we can also innovate. These are new proteins with excellent accessibility, sustainability, and nutritional profile. So what's the maturity? What's the readiness? In some cases, we have kilograms of protein to play with, and sometimes we have only picograms. It's really, really difficult to do prototype of cheese with picograms. That's where virtualization could be a good lever to succeed. But actually, the question is not the readiness. They are all progressing. They will improve. The real question is, what do they all have to face to succeed? Only one point. The scale-up. Scale-up is the key. They need to scale up to get the authorization, to get the regulation, the authorization to be used in food. They need to scale up to reach the quality, the food quality required for food safety. They need to scale up to reach the price parity. The price parity with the other type of protein. Because we are talking about sustainability, but to feed the world, we need affordability and accessibility. So those are really the technical issues we have to face. You may ask, what about the consumer? What do they understand? What do they expect? What do they like? It's a good question. We are at the beginning of the story. I've just read an interview from Bill Gates about the fact that science is opening the biggest hopes for the future of the humanity, and that we need to engage people behind science to really make the difference. He gave 3 advice to engage people. Explain, give the sense, and make it lively. I think that's good advice. We need to explain to our consumer. We need to be transparent, and we need to make them try. And actually, you are extremely lucky. You are in the only country where you can find the cheese, the first cheese, with the alternative protein that is on shelf. This is the first cheese that integrates dairy non-cow protein. We partner with Perfect Day, an American startups. So please, let's try and be part of the story. Before ending my talk, I want to share my thoughts, my feelings. I know that we are at the beginning of the road on that topic. We know that we have to progress. We really trust that science will help us. Science will improve the future. Science will make the difference for food. And interdisciplinarity is really the key levers to accelerate. So I want to thank a lot Dassault Systèmes, and especially Marilyn Genestin, who permit me to be here today with you to share that vision.
Thank you very much, Anne. I have a couple of questions, of course. One branding question, just to smile a bit. So we have the Laughing Cow.
Yeah.
What is the next brand? The non-Laughing Cow, the Laughing Protein?
That's a good question. We try lots of things.
So, to be more serious, the different technologies that you show, are you also considering mixing them together?
Definitely. Definitely. We are really in a period where we are testing everything. And the only thing that we are certain that there would not be only one answer. We would have to play with an and. So traditional milk, ingredients coming from those technology, fermentation, precision fermentation, but also biomass fermentation. So definitely it will be a blend of all the different solutions to reach the target.
And also related to that, when we hear about precision fermentation, I cannot help but thinking about precision medicine and, of course, nutrition and drugs. So any precision cheese? I mean, are you partitioning the population and considering maybe some cheese for certain age? Professor Chen was talking about food for specific classes of the population. So is it also a segue for you?
Yes. We already have some offers that are targeting some specific population where their needs on protein, on some specific minerals are deficient. So that is a way to target and to specialize a bit the portions and the nutrition. And I think that will be the future.
But that will
definitely
change the nature of your business.
Not exactly. We are cheese maker, but we are blenders. So we have the capacity to blend different ingredients and then to target specific population to get the good portions of nutrition.
And you're blending nutrition and health. Any questions from the room? Reza.
Great talk. Food is a regulated industry, and synthetic proteins will naturally go through the process of regulation and audit. Tons of data for cow-based, animal-based protein. Any challenges, any ideas as to how we're going to navigate the regulatory space in the synthetic world?
Good question.
We are going to remove the brake. Let's.
I think that's the fact that it's some startups has already the right to operate in US, for example, would help us to experiment, to know a bit more. And then, of course, Europe will follow. But I think also that's a way to protect, to secure the fact that the food is answering the specification that we need to be healthy, to be sustainable, and for the safety. So it's slower down the development, but it's also a security for the health. And I think that it's also a way to engage people, to reassure them that this is still a barrier to avoid some mistake.
Any other questions in the room? Okay, so let's thank Anne again for this very, very inspiring talk and decoding the role of potential of alternative proteins. Again, with these two sessions, a lot of hope, I believe, in metamorphosing our world. And it was expected, but because we discussed nutrition, it's now time for a nutrition coffee break. I see you back there sharp at 11. Thank you very much.